Hey guys, welcome back to Unique Minds of the Okanagan. I'm here with Mike Astral, and he's an amazing glass blower and artist.
Thank
you. No worries. So, Mike, what honestly got you started? Like, what really interests you with glass blowing?
Well, I lived in Edmonton, Alberta, and I had a friend named Cora, and he was doing a borosilicate bead course from a company called Pixie Glass.
Okay.
And they were offering these courses for payment, and I went and I took one, and I was hooked. Absolutely hooked. I really loved the artistic aspect of making these little beads and things like that.
There's so many different directions you can go with glass blowing. From jewelry, vases. Honestly, you can do even giant just sculptures essentially if you really wanted to, because it's all about piecing in that aspect of
That's
things.
right. Sky's the limit.
Yeah. Do you have any particular favorite kind of thing you like to work on?
The bulk of what I do is accessories for various smokeware.
Okay.
That's, I would say, my bread and butter, but particularly I like making spacey scenes, things that resemble starscapes.
Oh, that's so cool.
I take gold and silver metal and I incorporate it into the glass to make those scenes. So the gold and the silver actually looks like little stars in it.
Do you have anything like that you can show us?
Not off by hand, no.
I thought you were talking.
Oh yeah, I do have a little. So that's a piece of gold that I've taken. It's about a half gram of gold that I went and I actually mined myself. I panned this out from the local creek here in Kelowna.
Oh, is it Mission Creek?
Yeah, this is Mission Creek gold.
No, that's awesome. I also do some gold panning up there. It's nice. I just like sinking my feet in and going through the nice garnets and all that. And
yeah. Mission Creek has a lot of really nice garnets in it,
Yeah.
like super bright red gemmy garnets. But it's also got a lot of really good gold in it, and it works very well in the glass.
I'll have to.
It has a minor silver impurity, which helps it bond to the glass, because gold by itself won't bond.
What do you add to the bottom?
So the bottom is actually colored glass that I've taken and added as what's called a backing. And basically that just provides a solid opaque surface for you to look against. It's kind of a sparkly.
Let's see here. I'm just gonna show for the camera there. Yeah, so you can see a little bit of sparkles there. That's nice. And then when you actually look on the inside there, you can kind of see the sparkling on the inside. No, that's so cool.
Yeah. So I take these and I add them as detailing onto various things that I make.
So I'll have to come to you. So I got a little vial of gold at home. So I'll have to bring some for you.
Yeah. I do a little bit of gold refining as well in the glass itself. I take the raw gold that I've found in the creek.
Okay, I don't have that much, but
I also have.
If you smelt that down, that's worth a little bit.
Yeah, I think I have about 11 grams in there, but I've actually got a gold claim up in Cherryville.
Oh, really?
80 hectares of ground that I have the mineral rights for, and I go and I mine that throughout the year. That's where I get the bulk of my stuff from. But yeah, and then I'm able to use that that glass to refine it down. And I can break it free and have little gold beads.
Have you found anything really cool while you're gold panning?
I found a ring, a silver ring in Mission Creek once, just in my pan. Other than that, I found history. Up in Cherryville, there was the Chinese miners in 1870, and they left a lot of relics behind.
Oh, really? That's cool.
I've found some pretty interesting things, like little Chinese coins, and I found a tag, an old 1800s tag for the claim register that they would have
really cool.
put on the post. And marked that's my claim boundary. And
Yeah, no, I think the funniest thing I found was it looked like a pellet gun, but it looked it was too big for one of those just the pull release ones.
Okay.
But it was a little bigger, but I just remember finding that. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So,
what a find.
Yeah.
Little pellet gun. Interesting.
I put a little bit of the garnets. I play Magic the Gathering. And,
okay, yep.
I took some of the garnets and I turned them into little figurines and stuff like that. But no, that's so cool though.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. I made my logo for my gold panning, the gold panner. I made a foot to indicate the tracks that I leave when I'm prospecting, and the foot itself, like the bulk of the foot is made out of gold flakes arranged in the shape, and then I took garnets as the toes.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and that's all Mission Creek gold and garnets.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So tell us about what essentially does it take to become a glassblower? Like, what is like the core guts that you need to have to like get started essentially?
I would say you need to be a little bit crazy and just never give up. It's one of those things that's quite difficult to attain, and it's very expensive to go. And it's like, what's the quickest way to make $1 million as a glassblower? You start with 2, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
But just perseverance and the ability to spend long hours standing up at the torch, exposing yourself to the heat.
Well, I can imagine, right? I mean, I'm sure having beard yourself, have you singed a couple hairs here and there?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I burn myself all the time.
Yeah.
More burns than cuts, actually. It's kind of funny. Like, I was always scared of glass because of its ability to cut you and like to get in you without being able to see it and all that, right? Like, growing up, I had this terrible fear of glass. But then becoming a glassblower, like, it was really interesting. I don't cut myself at all, really. It's mostly burns, which you get used to after a while. It doesn't even faze you.
What's the biggest piece you've worked on, or like biggest thing you've crafted?
The like weight-wise, I would say somewhere around 2.5, 3 pounds in weight.
Yeah.
Like,
was it multicolor?
Size-wise, it was like about this large. That large sculptural.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it was multicolored functional glass art, so you were able to fill it with water and get like a kind of a recycling effect out of it.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So back to the first question I asked you there. Like, what kind of equipment do you work with essentially?
Well, the main thing is my torch and my kiln. These two keep the whole world turning. The torch I use to heat up my glass to a workable state. The kiln I use to keep my glass hot to a point where I can start working on it without warming it up in the torch. I can also anneal the glass with the kiln, which is a strengthening process. Takes the glass, which is in an inherently stressed state, and it relieves all the stress by like making it all amorphous and aligning the molecules.
I like the little wizard.
My little wizard guy. Yeah, he wasn't supposed to be purple.
No?
No, the glass that I made that when I first kind of started, and the glass that I chose was kind of like this kind of like a fleshy tone, right?
Yeah.
But then I started using it, and it struck out purple, which I found out later is that's a phenomenon of silver. When they add silver to various glass, it can strike out and change color as it goes. That's one of my favorite things about working with metals and glass is you can make what's called color-changing glass and polychromatic glass, which has all kinds of different shades and colors and like optic effects that it does.
No, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, even just looking at some of these designs and stuff like that.
My little Christmas baubles. Yeah.
I was gonna say those are very nice little Christmas ornaments you got there.
Silver fume and then colored glass and then gold fume. They're a little dusty.
Yeah. Do you make like quantities in like sets for Christmas time?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. Actually, Christmas time is such a big time of year for ornament making that I actually have to start making Christmas ornaments in about 2 weeks.
Oh, like coming up in 2 weeks here?
Yeah, absolutely. If I don't start in 2 weeks, it's too late.
Do you have regulars that get particular ones from you, or do you just kind of?
I do have regular collectors who will purchase do repeat purchases from me with different projects and whatnot, or they buy gifts for loved ones, that sort of thing. With Christmas ornaments, it's kind of a one and done sort of deal. You buy a set of Christmas ornaments, and then it lasts you forever. Yeah. But the gifts are probably, I would say, my repeat business as far as that goes.
I know some people like have different traditions and stuff where it's like they get one ornament every year for their trees.
Yeah,
so
that's absolutely, absolutely. Christmas pickles are big for that. I find that's an interesting one.
So, what are some overlooked things possibly when it comes to glass blowing in the art, the skill essentially? Are there things that people like? Oh, I want to get really into it, and they overlook a certain aspect? Like, is there any like shortage on anything? Is there any sort of like hard to come by stuff?
glass material can be inconsistently available. The bulk of what I use is called glass frit, which is just a crushed form of glass. And this, I find, over the last few years, anyway, since COVID hit, has been pretty hard to get in the full palette of color. I've been waiting for one specific color for about 3 years now, and I just got the notification that it was in the other day.
Do you think that has anything to be associated with just the, like, besides just like the shipping and all that stuff being backlogged, do you think that has anything to do with possible, like, just people have more people have gotten into glass blowing, so there's more demand because of the lull?
It's a multifaceted issue, I think. You have the color producers that I buy my color from are all in the United States.
Okay.
Most of them are small companies. They're like family-run companies where they just have a handful of employees and they're doing their best to supply literally tens of thousands of guys like me. The United States has a lot more glass blowers than Canada does as far as lamp working goes. And so the market there is quite large, and there's a lot of competition in that market for materials and everything like that. So I do think that there's an aspect of that, but there's also the COVID issue where the companies, because they're small companies, somebody gets sick and they're out for 2 or 3 weeks, and that really hinders production, and they haven't been able to produce as much as the market is demanding, right? So. Yeah, you get stockpile shortages. I think one of the main companies that I get my frit from, they went from I was told 600 pounds of frit on stock to just under 80 pounds of frit on stock, and that's to supply everybody.
Yeah.
Right. So
a lot of people, this is their bread and butter. This is what their main income is, and when there's a shortage like that,
absolutely, it gets you sweating.
What am I going to use as a replacement, or what can I?
And in my case, that was the gold and silver, because I can come by it fairly easy. I can just go out to the creek and do some pans, and then I've got enough material to color a week's worth of work. So, yeah.
So I am really interested in glass blowing, but when it comes to recycling glass, is there much room when it comes to, like, if you mess up something, can you repurpose it or, like, remelt it?
Yeah, it depends on the kind of mess up. So, like, if you misshape something, or if you just have some sort of minor defect, or it cracks on you when you're making it, there is often times where it's salvageable and you can turn it into a different project. But there are some breakages where that's it. And there's nothing you can really do with it. Again, you can take some of the pieces and turn them into small little things and that sort of stuff, but some does end up in the garbage.
When it comes to color and that kind of stuff, especially where it's like, you're trying to make like a particular shape or creature or something like that, and then for whatever reason, it's all green, so you can't really repurpose that particular shape and all that with the color.
Yeah, not the shape, but you can, in some cases, you can melt it down and you can reshape it into other projects. Like using the green example, if I was making a green project and it broke on me, I could then take some of those green shards and turn them into little leaf figures and that sort of stuff that I can then turn into pendants and sell for $5 or $10, that kind of thing. Color is expensive, and you try everything you can to not waste it as far as this industry goes. So always trying to repurpose what you can. But like I said, there is a certain amount of it that at the end of the day you can't really do anything with, and that does end up in the trash, unfortunately, because it's a non-recyclable product. There are no borosilicate glass recycling centers that are available, and you can't mix it in with normal glass recycling because it'll ruin the whole recycling batch. Yeah.
Very cool. Do you have your stuff for sale anywhere particular?
Yeah, the bulk of my products are available at Mary Jane's headquarters in Kelowna and West Kelowna, and Chiba Chiba's in Kelowna and West Kelowna. Yeah. Okay. Those are my two main customers. They buy almost everything I can produce. And then I sell the rest of my product privately through my social media and website.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Do you do markets at all, or do you?
Yes. I've done the Kelowna Farmers Market. I do the Kelowna Canada Day Market down on the beach by the dolphins.
Oh. Okay.
I do those. Those are my primary markets, I would say. There's another Christmas market that I do fairly often. The last couple of years haven't been too many markets, so it's been a little bit of a break from them. But I'm really excited to get back into the farmers market now that things are picking up on that. Yeah.
We've had a lot of rain this summer to start. Like, obviously forest fires it's the 50-50 or double-edged sword. We got the flooding.
I prefer the rain for sure. Yeah.
So, but flooding, gold panning.
That's right.
Good for us.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. There's a silver lining to it. It moves all the material.
Yeah. So, I don't suppose you'd be able to do like something really small for us on camera, possibly?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you
so you were
want to see? Spinning top?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to really tell us quickly about the story behind your spinning tops?
Well, so when I started learning after the bead courses, sorry, I got to turn on the ventilation here. When I started learning after the bead courses, I went to a guy in Calgary who was offering a course to me, and one of the first things that he taught me was spinning tops. And the reason for that is because with glass blowing, you need to be on center and in sync with your rotation on both hands, otherwise things mess up. You're basically playing with liquid honey in the middle of two sticks, and you got to turn that honey into something. Gravity is either your best friend or your worst enemy in these cases, right? But spinning tops are a really good fundamental lesson in keeping things on center, keeping your rotations even, and if you can make a spinning top that spins and holds its spin for a good amount of time, then you're doing well on that lesson, I guess. The other good thing about it is everybody loves spinning tops. Whether you're a 6-year-old kid or an 80-year-old grandma, everybody loves spinning tops. They're the most popular item I have at festivals and markets, and just everybody likes it.
An easy little pickup and purchase, essentially.
Exactly. And they're really good for little like local treasure hunts and stuff like that. I'll go and I'll hide little glass things around town during like event times, and like if there's a festival downtown, I'll go hide some glass downtown with my business card and all that, and just fun little treasure hunts. Or kids will walk past my door and start watching me through the window, and sometimes I'll give them all little marbles or little spinning tops, and they get to walk away with a cool little trinket, and it's a nice experience. Yeah.
So what type of fuel does this use? Is this?
So I run on propane and oxygen. I have a 230-liter liquid oxygen tank in the back of the building outside that we have hard-lined and piped into the room here. And then I have my manifold there that pipes that to the 4 different torch stations that we have in here. We only have 2 stations set up right now, but we have a potential for 4. And then we bring our own propane tanks in. Regulation doesn't allow us to keep the propane tanks in here when we're not here. When I leave, I have to take my tank with me, and I have to store it outside in a storage cage.
Very interesting.
It's a safety issue because of the zoning of the building and whatnot. I have to have fireproof drywall. I have to have non-flammable bench materials, floor and wall. I have to have the ventilation, and I have to have the fire extinguishers. So that's all part of the fire marshal's requirements to be able to operate here. But it also is a safety issue, like you have to have the ventilation because toxic gases can build up and can be quite dangerous, awful for you. Yeah, absolutely.
How long or how often do you need to replace the tanks?
My liquid oxygen tank, I replace that every 4 or 5 weeks between me and my shopmate working on it. When it's just me, I can go about 6 or 7 weeks on that oxygen tank. A propane tank, I replace every week. Every week I go through one of those. Sometimes 2 in a week. Depends on the volume of work that I'm doing. Spinning top, hey? Go with blue. So these are the glass rods that we use.
And how much do the glass rods usually run you?
Well, this one was $9, and that was 4 years ago. They've gone up in price by about 30% now, so they're not cheap. They're absolutely not cheap. A pound of color can cost me on average about $110 to get to here from the United States.
Well, you gotta be careful with the delivery on that stuff too.
Yeah, that's right. I use the rods very sparingly, and that's why I buy the frit, because I can get a lot of color coverage on my work with the frit.
Yeah.
For a lot less expense than if I were to be using just straight glass
Straight
rods.
color, yeah. Rods.
Yeah. I'll use them for more detailing work. So I just get it hot, and while it's hot, I squish it together with gentle pressure, and that starts building that disc out.
Oh yeah, I see it coming.
Right? Build that disc out. And that provides you your balance for the spinning top. And the more on center you are, the better your top will spin. I'm a little off center here. I got a heavy spot on one side of it.
No, a little pressure, no worries though.
Just a little. It'll still spin.
Yeah.
And then I pull the one side of it off to make a little point. Clean up that point a little bit. Bring it to a sharper point so it spins nice. See that? And then I use the same color that I just pulled off it to act as a little handle. Because when I pull it off here, it's going to chip a little bit of the glass away, and if you use a different color, you could end up with a little bit of that other color on the thing that you don't want.
Yeah.
Or a little bit of clear or whatever. Now I got it handled up there. I pull the spinning top's neck a little bit, give it a nice flowy proportion.
Should have brought my sunglasses.
Sunglasses won't help you, unfortunately.
No, it's something a little heavier.
It's a special kind of lens and mineral coating called didymium, and it blocks out that orange-yellow light that you see.
Yeah.
That light is called sodium flare, and that's the sodium in the glass releasing from the glass to produce that bright, bright light.
Oh.
And the didymium cuts that all out so that I'm able to just see the glass itself instead of the bright flare.
Now, is that different than like a typical welding mask?
Yeah. So welding masks or welding shades just have a shade, which is good enough for some light, but with sodium flare specifically, you need that didymium filter to absorb the infrared radiation that it gives off. It drops off exponentially the further you get away from the torch. So after about 3 or 4 feet, you're not getting the infrared radiation damage on your eyes. But like being within the 1 foot, you really need it, especially as the colors get darker. So like you go from clear glass, which doesn't have that bright of a flare, to like a black glass, which its flare is incredibly bright, and you might even need a darker shade of lens if you're going to use that glass often. Glass blowing shades typically come in 5 shades, whereas like welding shades will come in like 8 or 9, I think, something like that. I use a shade 3 lens because I do a variety of work that's not really centered on like dark glass or anything like that. There we go, we got a little spinny top. So that's well over 1,000 degrees right now. You can't touch it. One of the fundamental lessons of glass is hot glass looks just like cold glass.
Yeah.
You learn that one real quick. Real quick, yeah.
No,
that's I can let that, once that cools down, I'll be able to spin it for you.
How long does it usually take to cool off?
Like 5 minutes or so. 5 to 10 minutes.
The
Depends
proper
on
ventilation.
Yeah, it depends. Certain things I wouldn't let cool like this outside of the kiln. Typically, I would put the glass in the kiln to let it cool down slowly and do what's called annealing. But with little trinkets like this, it's not so important. They're not going to spontaneously combust on anybody or anything.
So can it essentially crack if you let it cool down too quickly?
Yeah, it can, absolutely. The good thing about borosilicate is that its thermal expansion rate is not very high. So like the reason why you can use it for cookware is because you can get it really hot and have it transferred to really cold, and it won't expand to a point where it'll break. Whereas soft glass or soda lime glass, the kind of glass that like your beer bottle is made out of, or your drinking glass at home might be made out of, that glass will break with sudden temperature change from hot to cold, right? But we're able to take this glass from like 600 plus degrees Celsius and just cool it down to room temperature in a matter of minutes, and it won't break. But if during the winter, if I put like a project like this out on my bench, it would have the risk of breaking just from the cold air blowing past it.
Just looking at some of your other pieces while it's cooling off.
Oh yeah, the either projects that never were, never will be, or various prep works. I think some of those pieces have been sitting there for years.
Oh, really?
I got one there that for sure that's like 6 years old. And on top of the kiln is where all the rejects and things go that I still like but aren't good enough for like anything else.
I understand that aspect.
Kind of the graveyard altar, you know?
So what do you use to stamp your logo on some of those pieces?
I use an enamel bake-on decal. So it's actually a decal that's made of glass, and it comes on like a resist film, kind of like water tattoos.
Okay.
And you dip it in the water, you get it wet, and then you're able to peel the film off and put that on the glass.
It just sticks on.
Let it dry, and then I cook it in my kiln, and that permanently adheres that logo onto the surface of the glass. My favorite to use are the 24 karat gold or 24 karat platinum ones, which they look real nice. Yeah. I also have a little stamp somewhere that I use for like my little pendants and pipes and that sort of stuff. A little HVC on there. My sister made that for me. Hidden Village Creations. I had it upside down in that, but you get the idea. But yeah, that's what I do to brand my glass. Otherwise, I have little stickers that I actually sticker everything with before it gets to the shop, so that when it does go out to customers, they got my brand right there, and they can go and check out my Instagram and all that stuff.
Okay, very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
Now, is there a particular reason why you're still running the burner here?
No.
No, just letting it burn.
No, it just looks cool. Yeah, I don't know. It's fun to play with. I got a foot pedal that I can like turn it on and off with, and generally, like if I'm in between projects or if I'm taking a little break or something like that, I can keep it.
A little bit.
I can keep it on like kind of a pilot light sort of setting, and just for shorter times, like I wouldn't leave it running like that for like 20 minutes or 15 minutes or anything like that. But for short little, like taking a drink or whatever, I can just pilot light it.
I guess technically you'd have to relight it just like a gas stove essentially. So
that's right, yeah, exactly. I always have to relight it if I let it go out. But
I noticed your necklace there. Did you make that yourself? Or is that
no, this was made by a glass blower in Japan, actually. Okay. I went and I visited Japan with my wife, and we stopped in at this studio there, and really, really awesome people, full of wonderful hospitality. Yeah. They're very generous. They showed me how to make a glass calligraphy pen, and they let me keep the pen at the end of this experience, cool. And then they gave me the pendant in trade for a pendant that I made, which was pretty cool. Yeah.
So do you have any of your stuff for sale in here, or is it all just in the shop right
now?
No,
it's all in the shop next door.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all in the shop next door. That's part of my arrangement with them. I don't sell anything privately through this location here. If you want my glass, you gotta go to the
won't be able to do that today, but we'll after the interview we might go check it out after.
yeah, word.
But
word. I got a whole display just to my own.
Very cool. Very cool.
In there, yeah.
So what do you have right now currently in your kiln?
Currently I am working on some functional glass art that is intended for the smokers in the audience.
Okay.
Fill that with water and then it bubbles. They're all sitting at 1,050 degrees right now, quite hot. I take different components like this that I've made with the color, and then I assemble them eventually into things like this.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what are some essentially like learning mistakes that you were able to not overcome, but look here, it's got it set up. There it goes. Very cool. So what were some as a beginner glassblower, what were some of the, I guess, challenges or just certain things that maybe you not overlooked? We talked about that already, but just simple learning mistakes that you learned through trial and error.
Keeping things on center and even spinning is probably the biggest thing that people struggle with to begin with. I used to teach courses here, actually. We would offer them to the public, and I stopped doing that because people's expectations when they come in here are way too high. You know, like they come in here thinking it's like, I'm going to be able to make a pipe and walk out and like, it's going to be something I can use. This is not a chance, not a chance. If you make a spinning top that spins, you are a prodigy, you know? Yeah. But just being able to make a small lopsided marble on the end of a stick is a monumental task for somebody first starting. And that's where people need to have their expectations when they come in here. But because, like I said, people have those really lofty expectations when they come in here, you know, they did enjoy the experiences of the courses, but there was my fair share of folks that felt disappointed with what they were able to accomplish in the 3 or 4 hours that we had the lesson going for.
What do you mean I can't make a vase day one?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm 10 years in, I can't even make a vase like half the time. They're very large, very heavy projects, and you're always out like this when you're working on big things, so it's quite strenuous on your body.
So do you ever walk around and then you see something and it's like, wow, like I really like that glass style, and like do you incorporate any of that kind of stuff into your work where it's just
all the time? I am browsing,
blown away by like someone's like unique aspects of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Everywhere I go, everywhere I look, I'm always browsing social media. I'm always browsing through Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and all that stuff to find new ideas and to see what people are working on. And even just walking around town and whatnot, we have some really crazy artists in town. Like one of our employees here at Mary Jane's, he does glass engraving with a Dremel, and I just learned that today. Wow. In fact, so you know, there's a lot of really interesting stuff out there that can be incorporated with the glass working because it's such a varied medium. You can do all kinds of stuff with it, right? So
definitely stretch out into different directions and
absolutely.
Experiment. I think I've seen a lot of interesting blowers, I believe, that have like when you actually pass air through it, it like moves and does lots of cool, fun little motion from just literally pouring water in it and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of the fun of it is like coming up with innovative ideas that you know, could just make the water do what you want the water to do. You know, that in itself is an interesting kind of cultural phenomenon with the glass blowers that I hang out with. You know, the lamp workers, pipe makers.
Is there anything you would suggest straying away from, if that makes sense, for someone that's new or getting into things?
No, not at all. Try and do anything and everything. There's no limit. There's no rules to it. You'll have all kinds of people tell you what you can and can't do, and there's no such thing as that. They're all wrong. Because you can and can't do anything as far as like whatever you put your mind to. If you work at it enough with glass, you can achieve it, right? There's just no end to it. There's some really amazing form and flow artists out there who do things with glass that even like scientific glass blowers are like, no, that's impossible. You can't do that. And they're the guys that wrote the literal books on this stuff, right? And then they have a bunch of artists saying, no, look, I did it, right? So no, just go wherever your heart's taking you. Do everything.
So what are some of these shaping tools that you have over here?
Yeah, so the majority of my shaping tools are made out of graphite, and the higher density graphite, the better. Things like this. This is a bowl push. I use this tool to push the bowls into my functional glass art.
Okay.
Things like that. I got sculpting tools here. It's got a nice sharp edge along the sides of it and different shapings so that I can carve different shapes or push into different sculpting work, like my little totem here. That was made with this sculpty tool and this bowl push.
Okay.
The tungsten pick on the end of it is for drilling through hot glass. Tungsten is a very refractory metal, and once you get some heat into it, with the heat of the glass, it just pushes the glass away from the metal, so you're able to just guide the metal through it and get a really nice, clean hole that way.
That's cool.
And then I got flaring tools. These are used for opening glass up. So when I start with my work, it's these 5-foot lengths of tubing that I have to split into half, and then from there I'll split into different sizes of blanks, and if I want to put something in that blank, I have to open it up and flare it out, kind of like you see on the ends there. And for that, oftentimes I'll use tools like this, which are my flaring tools. This here is a marble mold, so that helps me get marbles nice and round. As far as the rough shaping goes, you always try to use gravity and heat to finish off your shaping with a marble, because this will leave tool marks and whatnot.
Yeah, I get that.
This is called a Sophietta, and it's a hollow tube with the graphite tip on it. And what that is for supplying air to a project that's not on a hollow handle.
Gotcha.
So if I had something like this, which is a bubble of glass on a solid handle, if I wanted to puff this out into a different shape, I would get it hot, and then I'd put my Sophietta tool in there and blow into it, and it would puff it out, right? So this is a really handy tool for all kinds of things. And then my paddle, which is probably one of my most used tools, as you can see by
the
wear, the torch wear on it. That's eventually the graphite burns out. But I got my blow hose holster, which helps me supply the air to the projects that I'm working without having to pull them up to my mouth like old school traditional glass blowers would. They would always have to pull their project up to their mouth and use gravity to help shape things. I don't have to do that. I can keep it on center. Yeah, those are the bulk of my tools. Graphite pad to flatten things out. L-marver on top of my torch to help me keep things round or center or do various shaping with. This is a V tool. This is called the Infini-V. It's 2 spinning metal discs that have not a sharp edge, but an edge on it. And I'm able to roll my glass down on that while it's hot, and that's what allows me to get these really nice tapers on that constricts the glass down to that point. And then I'm able to just snap that off, and it creates what's called a controlled stress point, where you can break the glass off from, or you can do various shaping with it too. That's how I shaped this. That was just a straight tube when I started, and then with that tool I'm able to shape it into the bubbles along the length of it.
So is there any story behind the name Hidden Village Creations?
Yeah, I'm a really big fan of Pokemon. And in one of the early episodes of Pokemon, Ash Ketchum finds himself in this village with a bunch of misfit and injured Pokemon who decided to stay in that village because they were scared of their injuries and of the trauma of the world and all that. And there was this Bulbasaur that was guarding them, and he didn't take too kindly to Ash and all his friends coming in, and he was kind of being a bullheaded dude about them. And then this village was called Hidden Village. And Bulbasaur in the Hidden Village is the name of the episode. And I just always took a cool liking to that one.
I feel like I may have seen that episode very briefly.
That's
in my childhood.
how Ash gets his Bulbasaur. It's that Bulbasaur. Yeah. But I named my company after that, basically with that inspiration. Bulbasaur grows past his own trauma and goes out and starts exploring the world, which was kind of a relatable story to me,
cute.
right?
That's
So
cute.
yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
And now, I think you mentioned earlier, so these are incense diffusers?
Yeah, they're going to be, I call them incense towers. They're all on handles right now, so that clear stick that's on them won't be there in the final product, and they'll have holes running down the length of them. and you just hang an incense stick upside down in it while it's burning, and then the smoke diffuses through the holes and permeates your area with awesomeness. Cool. They're a fairly popular product. Folks who burn incense really like things to burn incense in. I make little chimneys for incense cones and that sort of thing too. And I use the metal to fume them with, and that creates the color that you can see. And because of the resins of the incense, they fill it in with kind of a darker background, and that's what allows the color from the metal to really pop and show through. Right, so that's also what makes functional glassware on the color changing aspect of things do its color changing thing, is when you use it and you fill it in, you get that backing that pulls it allows you to see all the colors that are there.
Very cool. So what's up next for you as to, do you have any expansion plans? Do you have any ideas as to where you want to go in the next couple of years?
Yeah, so right now I've actually hit my production capacity. I make as much as I can physically make in a day by myself. And yeah, I'm backed up. That's awesome. Got quite, I don't even take on new orders anymore. Yeah, just make what I make. Occasionally I get bored, I make a thing that I'll then put up on my social media and be like, hey, who wants this?
I think that's what a lot of people aim for, is just that nice, comfortable level of you've got the clientele coming after you. You've got lots of time to work on your craft, and I think that's what a lot of artists aim for, and that's a lot of the people that we speak to and try to talk to with this show, is just trying to learn, everyone's different experiences and advice and different aspects in that kind of way. Do you have any personal advice as to what would you advise for someone that's wanting to get into glass blowing?
Find somebody who knows how to do it and take lessons from them. Just watch them. Spend your time observing and paying attention to what they're doing. My shopmate here, that's how he got his start. He was an employee at the shop here, and he just started watching me one day, just hanging off the side here and just paying attention. And he did that for probably 2 months before he got up the courage to ask if he could try it out. And then he tried it out, and now he's been blowing glass for 4 years now and doing quite well for himself as well. And it all starts with just watching somebody. And that's how I started too. I was watching my friend make the borosilicate beads, and then I took a course on how to make beads, and I went and I found a glass blower who knows how to blow glass and make pretty much anything. And I took courses from him and learned a lot. And I feel like that really accelerates you and fast tracks you if you're looking for success as far as a career aspect of things go. There's a difference between hobby glass blowing and career glass blowing, right? So hobbyists, you can do whatever you want if you've got the capital flow to keep it going, But as a career-minded artist and glass blower, you really have to be careful with what you do and how much money you spend and where you're devoting your resources and time. And lessons are huge. They're huge, absolutely. Anywhere that you can get knowledge or information from as far as how to do things and how to get better at certain things wherever you may be struggling is so valuable, and it's so important to do that. You'll be years ahead of somebody who didn't have the same drive to find those people to learn from. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing. Yeah, no, that's great insight on the craft. I think there's a lot of people that are interested in glass blowing, and it's very absolutely. I think it's a little nerve-wracking, at least trying to get started into it. I know I personally was interested in it. I think downtown they had where was it? Hemp City,
they had classes for a little while, and I think they canceled just before COVID or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, that's where I was working when I first came to Kelowna. Was Hemp City.
Hemp City, very cool. That's. I really appreciate you welcoming us into your space, and I definitely learned a lot today.
Awesome.
That's
awesome.
I want to get into it.
Hey man, anytime. Let me know. You can come and try it out. My shopmate's actually moving at the end of the month, so I'm going to have the studio all to myself.
Oh, really?
We're looking at
seek
possibly
out an apprentice.
I was
Or
thinking.
someone
I was
already
thinking about it
experienced.
because you asked about the expansion or like what my plans are, and it plays into the fact that my shopmate is leaving and I have this bench opening up. I just recently bought a second kiln that I'm going to put on that bench so that I can have more space to do more prep work and maybe perhaps even hire on somebody to do prep work and various shop duties for me. I do have a second set of equipment that I can just set up and have somebody work on. So it's pretty convenient.
I definitely know even just having someone do like some easy, simple stuff for you.
Exactly.
You do the simple like prep, and then
you can
I'll
make
let you do
this. If you can make this, I will hire you. For real, that's all I need made.
Yeah.
I just need hundreds and hundreds of these.
No, that's so awesome. Well, I think we're good. I can't thank you enough for this time showing us your workshop and the space and giving us a little insight on the craft. Once again, thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much.
It was nice.
Glad to have you
meeting
guys. Glad to chat with you. Show your viewers what this is all about.
No,
You can take that with you.
Is it going to burn?
No,
me?
it's not
We're
hot.
good.
It's not
No,
hot.
that's so cool. Very cool.
But good looking out. Hot glass looks like cold glass.
Rylan Kinnan from Unique Minds of the Okanagan. I've got Rob O'Day from behind the camera there, and we'll see you guys next time.